Devendorf.
All right, I am here right now with Eric Devendorf. Eric played with the Orange from 2005 to 2009. He is still the 14th leading scorer in Orange history, man. And I'll tell you what, I remember watching you here at KeyBank Arena. Me and my boys came years ago. It might have been 05 or 06, whatever year it was. And I remember I was courtside and I yelled something to you and you whipped over a sweaty headband at me. And my thing might have slapped right off my face. I don't But that's what I remember about Devendorf. And listen, it was my own fault, man, because I was asking for it. So how you doing, brother? Thanks for joining.
No worries at all, man. I appreciate you having me. Yeah, that must have been sophomore year. So it might have been 06, 07, if I'm not mistaken. But I remember, I think we played Canisius.
Yeah, it was Canisius. Do you remember throwing a sweaty headband at someone?
I don't, but I mean, I might have. So I didn't mean any disrespect by it.
It probably wasn't the first one you threw, right? I'm sure there was many in the career. So it's great to catch up with you. You know, man, you were a lights out shooter. You were a heck of a ball player, man. And I'm sure you still are, doing, whatever it is, wherever you're playing. And the career went on. I know, Boeheim had you working with the team. Mm-hmm. And now I think you had mentioned you're doing some ESPN and some ACC network stuff. Tell everybody what you're up to right now.
Yeah, so after I got done playing ball overseas for 7 years, I came back. My last stop was New Zealand, so I came back from there, finished up my degree. I was on staff. Thank you, I appreciate it. So I was on staff 2016 to 2018 at Cuse, and then I left, went back to Michigan as a special assistant to the head coach at Detroit Mercy for a year. And then I came back to Cuse and started my own basketball training camps, clinics, stuff like that, individual workouts. So ED23 hoops. So I've been doing that for a while, running different things through that. And then this is the third year in August that I've had my nonprofit ED23 Foundation. So we have actually a turkey drive coming up November 22nd. We'll hand out 500 turkey dinners on the south side of Syracuse. We do a bunch of different events, back to school events, shoe drives, clothes, hats, all that. So been doing a lot of work with that. And then, as you mentioned, I do some broadcasting. I've been doing local radio and podcasting. And just over the last few years, I started getting into ESPN and ACC network and also doing games for the university when they have their home games. So dabbling with that, enjoying it, learning as I go. But yeah, man, just trying to make an impact here in the community in Cuse. And they've done so much for me. I'm just trying to share that love and bring it back.
You are no doubt doing that, man. I did not expect that. You got your hands full. I mean, you're putting in work, and I think it's amazing. Everything you had just said, right down, from the turkey drives to everything. I love, to give back to the community. And one thing you had just mentioned, you said they were so good to me, so whatever I can do to give back. You were no doubt a fan favorite, bro. Like, people loved you. They loved chanting your name. They loved just being part of that. There was an energy, obviously, in those years, when you were here even. I think back then we had Harris, and Harris was a Niagara Falls cat. Oh, there was a lot of juice surrounding him when he was here and everything else, man. Do you keep in touch with a lot of the guys that you played with back then?
I mean, I do. I mean, it's I don't talk to guys every single day, but through text and Instagram, definitely keep tabs with Paul, and he's doing amazing things in Connecticut. My roommate Anawaku for 4 years, he just texted me the other day, so we keep in touch. And yeah, that team was Andy Rollins, Johnny Flynn, Rick Jackson.
Forgot
Paul
about
Harris.
Johnny. Johnny's another Niagara Falls guy.
Yep. Johnny's one of the great point guards to come through Syracuse of all eras. He was unbelievable to play with. But yeah, we had a really good team, passionate team, competitive team. So it just made it fun on and off the court. Practices were super competitive, and it just made it easy transition into the game. So yeah, I had a great 4 years there, a great time in the community, made a lot of connections, a lot of relationships. And that's kind of what allows me to do what I do now, giving back to the community and through all the events to the foundation, just the relationships and connections that I've established throughout my time. So just trying to make an impact, give back, and try to get people involved who have that like-mindedness and vision for the foundation and what we're trying to do going forward.
I love it, man. I love your positive attitude and honestly, everything you just said. A couple questions I want to hit on, man, while I have you. How was it playing for Boeheim? I mean, I've never really, I almost wish I could dig up some dirt on the guy, right? Because I just, everyone who I've spoken with, there's actually, I don't know if you know this, but the ABA, Buffalo has an ABA team. You know,
Mhm.
it's the Buffalo Extreme. It's
Right.
they're pretty talented players. It's fun to watch. Javon McRae's playing over there and some other
Mhm.
guys, you know, but there was I want to say it was Washington was over there, and he had played under Boeheim and just
Yeah, Howard. Yeah.
okay, yeah, great dude. And you know, it's one of those things like everybody you talk to just says, you know, he's just a stand-up, salted to the earth guy. I mean, how was it playing with him, man? And how much off the court did he help you, you know, develop, right? Mentally becoming a man, right? Because you're in college at that point, and you know, there's a lot of other things on your mind other than basketball when that stuff's going on. I mean, how was it as far as what he's giving you for to move on, you know, in life?
Yeah, coach was great. I mean, you know, on the court, easy. I mean, he was just like me, super competitive. He wasn't afraid to challenge you, and that's how my coaches were growing up. You know, in your face. They were intense. They were passionate. They wanted to win, and you know, I'm the same type of guy. So you know, coach, he was the type of coach just let you go out and play. You know, he'll let you make mistakes and play through it. Obviously, not too many because you'd be sitting on the bench, but he had his guys. You know, when we got into the depth of the season, it was he had his 7 guys that he was really going to stick with, and I was grateful and lucky enough to be able to be one of those guys
Well,
throughout
let's
my
not
career.
get it twisted, man. You earned it. You earned it.
I appreciate it. So throughout my career, so playing for him was amazing. You know what I mean? To be a fly on the wall and get some of his knowledge and everything that he was teaching us was unbelievable. And then off the court, when I was playing, the relationship wasn't there with him as much as it is now off the court.
Okay. Yeah.
I work with his sons, Buddy and Jimmy, and super close just with his family. So I think just being in the community and he was seeing what I was trying to do, and obviously being a guy who's super competitive, he respected that, and then he respected me, giving back to the community because he's the same type of person. He gives back a ton to this community. So I think he wanted to support that. He wanted to encourage that, and he was always there if I needed a hand or help with anything. So still to this day, I love Coach. He's done a lot for me. He's been a mentor, and he's definitely helped me out a lot while I've been here in Syracuse.
So let's talk about the team a little bit, man. I'm assuming this is still your squad, right? I mean, there's no way that you switched, right? This is, for life, dude, right? It's complete
Right.
orange. Last year, a little rough, right? Not what they're used to. And we have some new starters this year. There's some Anthony guy, that there's a lot of hype around. I don't know, Anthony something, right? Keon Anthony. I mean, obviously there's a lot of excitement, surrounding this young fella and his dad and everything else. But let's take him out of it a minute, right? There's a few new starters. You got Nathan George, William Kyle, and I want to say Nate Kings are the anticipated starters, for this year. And that's 3 out of the 5 new. How much have you kind of dug into them a little bit or researched or watched video or whatever? What are your expectations this year for the Orange?
I mean, every year I have high expectations regardless, right? That's just a standard that's been set at the Syracuse University, but I think Red and the coaching staff's done a great job of getting their guys in, the guys that they want, the guys that fit their system. They're athletic, they're versatile. They could switch 1 through 5. You talked about Nathan George. I did a lot of games at Georgia Tech last year, and he was one of those guys who unbelievable decision maker, playmaker. He's going to make guys' jobs much easier. JJ Starlin, Donnie Freeman, they don't have to do much decision making. He's going to put them in spots where they could just go and do what they do best, and that's score the ball. And you talked about Kings. He's a guy who's coming in, shoot the ball from the perimeter. He's going to be a floor spacer. It's going to be getting out in transition. He's a guy who could really spot up, get out there and knock down shots. They're going to need that for their drivers. And then William Kyle, he's a guy who's just much needed on the defensive side of the ball. He can rim run. He's a lob guy. He's around the basket. He's going to block shots, something that Syracuse had none of last year. So I think
I think that's really what they desperately needed last year was that,
yes.
Those trees. They needed some trees,
I think overall, just defensively, they'll be so much better. Like I said, they're versatile. They could switch on pick and rolls. They got guys who could keep in front from 1 through 5. And Sadiq White, who is another freshman who, I was able to watch him at practice a few times. He's the guy he's a first round NBA draft pick. Just his athleticism, his energy, his competitiveness. He's one of those guys who, they don't come around all the time. So once he just starts to develop the skill offensively a little bit more, watch out. But he's the guy that's going to make a major impact right away, I think, for the Syracuse team. And then, they have depth, they have options.
A lot of depth.
Yeah, they could, they could go 9, 10 guys. I think as they get later into the season, he's going to kind of, get set with his 7, 8 guys or whatever it is. But, they got freshmen that can come in and make an impact. And the transfers, obviously, we talked about a little bit. They're going to come in and make an immediate impact. And then you got two, superstars coming back in JJ and Donnie, who are, all ACC guys who had tremendous years last year. And now they could, they could come in healthy. JJ missed, I think, 7, 8 games last year. Donnie missed a whole bunch of games. So, regardless how they ended up, they didn't even have those guys for a full season, So now add in the transfers, add in the freshmen, add in 2 healthy, all ACC guys. My expectations are high. I think they go to the tournament, and, once they get in the tournament, you and me both know anything can happen.
Yeah, man. And that's what I love about it. Once you're in that 64, dude, it's just anything goes. And, I think this is exciting for, not only fans in Buffalo. UB had its struggles. Okay. Obviously, I'm a Buffalo guy. They've been struggling for quite some time. George Halkovich, coming from Villanova, he got to, guys like Brunson and Jay Wright, he was under him. And I know the culture he's trying to bring to this UB team. I spoke with him a little while ago. We were just talking about NIL, right? And how tough it is to really keep guys from moving into that transfer portal, right? As soon as guys kind of think, all right, I got a little something here, there's somebody chirping in their ear to move on. What's your take on NIL? I think you'd obviously be a supporter on behalf of the players, but do you think it's going to hurt teams like the University of Buffalo?
Yeah, I mean, if they're not able to raise funds and get money in, it's definitely going to hurt those mid-major schools, because they're not going to be able to compete, with the high majors or even the schools that maybe not considered high major. You talk about BYU, that's not really
right.
I mean, I guess it's high major, but it's not. You don't put it in the likes of Duke and Syracuse and North Carolina, but they were able to give a guy $7 million. One of the best players in the country this year, the incoming freshman. So it has to be regulated more. I mean, I definitely support it. I think the guys should get paid, but if we're going this route, it has to be a salary cap. You have to have a players union. I mean, you have to have all of that because it's not amateurism anymore. It's professional. These guys are getting paid, and not only getting paid, but a lot. You know what I mean? You high 6 figures, millions of dollars. You have to be able to regulate that, and you have to treat it like, a professional program because, I mean, that's what it is.
I totally agree, bro. And you look at a guy like JJ, who to me, sky's the limit. The potential is off the charts. And, then even Kyan coming in, right? Like, that this dude's going to get offered all kinds of deals, this. And the path was kind of carved for him. And that's excellent, right? Not taking anything away. You still got to work to get to that level. You don't wake up one morning and you're a stud basketball player. You still need to work your tail off as
right.
Right? But I agree with what you're saying. I think you almost now are treating it as just a professional organization. And they do have to do something to kind of get it under control of, there's some guys, man, I'm sure they'd rather just play all 4 years at college because they're making so much money. It's like, hey, I don't want to be an 8th round. I like right where I am.
Yeah, absolutely. And they should stay as long as they can. If they're trying to get a 6th, 7th year, go ahead. You know what I mean? Try to make as much money as you can because the reality of it, a lot of these guys, they can make money here, but they're still not going to get drafted in the NBA. It's 60 draft picks. And then, you have your guys who have the two ways in the G League. But once you get to that level, it's just a whole different ball game. These guys are, everyone who's getting drafted was the best player on their team in college, usually. Get as much as you can from this NIL. Again, it's not the players' fault. These guys fell into it. This is just the landscape now. So, take advantage of it as much as you can. And I think every program should have a financial guy on staff. Just, teaching these kids where to put their money. If you're making $800,000 and your rent's being paid, your food's being paid for.
Great point, dude. I'm so glad you said that, right?
Yeah.
They need to be coached and, they need to know what to do with the money. Hopefully they're taking the right classes, what to do with it. Because I'm sure all of a sudden you got a whole list of new friends calling you and guys that you knew when you were 5 years old, all want a piece of the action. And, you know how that can go.
Yeah. And a lot of the times it's family, so it's even harder to deal with it when it's coming from family. You want to be to help out your mom and dad or brother and sister, cousins, whatever it may be. So that puts the player in a tough position. So to be able to have people on staff to help them navigate and see through all that is definitely beneficial for these guys now and then going forward as well and whatever they end up doing.
Yeah. This was awesome, man. I won't take your whole night. Hopefully this is televised or you're somewhere where you're going to be watching this exhibition. I'm super excited for it. Seeing it in the background, I do got to ask, man, How bad do you wish you were down there right now hooping with these guys?
Oh man, I had my time. You know, I enjoyed it. You know, I had an unbelievable career at Syracuse. I was able to, you know, travel the world and
Yeah,
play
you know, and
golf.
I don't want to cut you off here, but I looked at that resume, man, and you were all over the place, right? And
Yeah,
you know, I think sometimes people will look at a career and they'll say, "Oh, NBA is." Not only did you get to go see the world, you know, but you're a pro basketball player. Period. Let's not get it twisted, man. You know, you're a 1% or 2%. You're playing professional basketball, and always handled yourself, you know, just humble, right? Salt of the earth type dude, man. And that's was always the way I kind of viewed you. You know what I'm saying? You were very easy to root for because of your personality.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I went on the court. I'm passionate. I'm competitive. You know, I wear my heart on my sleeve, and you know it's gonna show. And then off the court, laid back. You know, humble guy, and just like to help, give back. And thankfully, Syracuse gave me a platform where I'm able to do things and get it out there, and people want to help and support. So, yeah, we're just gonna continue to do that, continue to help out, and you know, keep doing this broadcasting thing, and keep learning as I go, and see where it takes me.
For sure, man. Thanks again. This was great. Have a good night.
All right, man. You too.